Weird tradition. Thousands of volunteers coming to Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia today to lay wreaths at the graves of at least 400,000 fallen heroes. Their hard work paying off. These are live images of the wreaths in place at America's sacred ground. Welcome to Fox News Live. I'm Griff Jenkins in Washington. Hey, Aisha.
Hey, Griff, good to be with you. I'm Aisha Hasni in New York today. In addition to Arlington, volunteers are also laying wreaths at over 3,400 additional locations in all 50 states, also at sea and abroad. It's an incredibly important day. And what I love about these images that we're looking at, Griff, right now are all the children that are part of this. Parents, mothers, and fathers bringing their kids out to really experience this in person and to teach them the value of freedom and how important these fallen heroes are to our country, our future.
And those wreaths didn't just show up. They came from Maine. The tradition started back in 1992 when the Worcester family, Morrill and Karen, decided they had a surplus of wreaths. They're going to bring them down to Arlington National Cemetery where Mr. Worcester had visited. And it went on for some years. And it wasn't until 2005 that an image went viral showing those wreaths of worship, as we are showing today, laid at the tombstones of so many heroes. And everybody got involved. Now it is tradition that is very sacred this holiday season, and no better way to honor our fallen heroes.
Absolutely, and we'll continue to talk about this very important moment throughout our newscast. But for now, we've got other big stories to get to. Griff?
You're watching live images of our southern border. The COVID-era border policy, Title 42, set to expire this Wednesday as officials brace for a possible surge in border crossings. And the Biden administration staying tight-lipped on their plans to respond. We have Fox team coverage with Lucas Tomlinson live at the White House. But let's kick things off with Bill Melugin along the border in Eagle Pass. Hey, Bill.
Griff, good afternoon to you. This unprecedented border crisis has already shattered records all across the board, but here we are now, days away from things potentially getting much, much worse. When Title 42 drops next week, we're already seeing a surge in activity. Take a look at this video our drone team shot just before sunrise, or just after sunrise, excuse me, this morning, of a group that crossed illegally here in Eagle Pass. We are getting multiple groups every morning out here, typically single adults from Cuba, Colombia, Nicaragua, and the Dominican Republic, most of them not subject to Title 42. We're barely seeing any Haitians anymore out here like we were last year, but that wasn't the only group. Take a look at the second piece of video. This group coming before sunrise while it was still dark out. This was a group of 280 that crossed here in Eagle Pass early this morning. This Del Rio sector has been getting more than 10,000 illegal crossings per week in recent weeks. They've had more than 115,000 illegal crossings just since October 1st. Those numbers up 56% over last year, and last year set the all-time record for illegal crossings here in the Del Rio sector. Then we'll take you out to the El Paso sector. Take a look. Two convicted sex offenders arrested by Border Patrol there, both of them from Guatemala, both of them previously charged and convicted of sex crimes in the state of California, both of them now charged with illegal re-entry into the United States. And then lastly, take a look at this photo right here. Believe it or not, this is from Vermont, our northern border, where border agents stopped 5 Mexican nationals who crossed illegally into Vermont from Canada. One of them previously deported 2 times in 2016. The northern border seeing a surge as well. That sector in Vermont reporting they're seeing 9 times as many illegal crossings in fiscal year 2023 so far as they were the same time last year. And back out here live, if and when Title 42 does drop on Wednesday, DHS is projecting we could be seeing upwards of 15,000 illegal crossings every single day. Just to put that number in perspective for our viewers, remember all those Haitians under the bridge in Del Rio last summer? That was about 15,000 people. Imagine that crossing the border every single day. That's a possibility if Title 42 drops.
Well, who can forget that image, Bill? And you were there bringing it to the entire country when no one was paying attention. You and I worked together earlier this week putting out the numbers that they've now had more than 500,000 encounters. So my question to you is, do you see in Eagle Pass, in the Del Rio sector there, anywhere, Bill, that there is a amping up of resources, a stockpiling of resources, or any infrastructure being put in place in advance of Wednesday?
From the state of Texas, yes, absolutely. To my right shoulder and to my left shoulder, you can't see it on camera, but they have been bringing in more shipping containers, stacking them all over the place in this popular illegal crossing area. They've got razor wire behind me right here. They're also setting up floodlights pointing towards the river. So the state of Texas, yes, in certain areas where there are illegal crossings, they're surging resources. They're bringing more troopers. They're bringing more of these shipping containers to try to do a makeshift border wall. But the kind of numbers that DHS is projecting, stuff like that probably isn't going to be able to slow a surge like that down. And that's not even addressing other parts of the border when you talk about Yuma and El Paso. El Paso is completely overrun right now, and things there could get much worse as well, Griff.
Boy, the numbers out of El Paso are stunning. And just real quickly, lastly, Bill, let's go back to our drone shot. And I'm not sure if you can tell exactly where that is in the Eagle Pass area, but, you know, it is clockwork. Every day, nearly every hour, you are seeing the Border Patrol officials being overwhelmed.
Yeah, they are. And we've talked to several agents who have come up to us since we got out here, and they kind of come up to us and say, hey, you guys ready? Buckle up, because they all know what's happening on Wednesday when Title 42 drops. And this is something that agents have been talking about for months. Remember, Title 42 was supposed to drop back in May. Then it got pushed back. There are still thousands of people in Mexico who have been waiting since that day. They're camped out all over the place. They are waiting for Tuesday night, midnight, for that time to come to cross. Is Border Patrol ready? We're going to have to find out.
Our appreciation goes to the men and women of the Border Patrol and the National Guard and Texas DPS trying to deal with this unprecedented problem. Great reporting as always. Bill Melugin live for us in Eagle Pass. Bill, thanks. Aisha?
Well, Griff, just as you said, more and more people are now taking notice and talking about it. High-profile Democrats, in fact, from California and New York now, joining the GOP in raising the alarm over the crisis at the border. This as the countdown to the end of Title 42, used to turn away migrants by both the Trump and Biden administrations, now enters its final days. Lucas Tomlinson is live at the White House right now with the very latest on the administration's response or preparedness for this. Lucas, what are you hearing?
Aisha, last night a federal appeals court here in Washington ruled that Title 42 will not be extended, which nominally is supposed to limit the number of migrants attempting to cross into the United States. That is set to expire Wednesday, as we just heard from Bill. Now, the White House reacting last night to this ruling in a statement saying, quote, "To be clear, the lifting of the Title 42 public health order does not mean the border is open. Anyone who suggests otherwise is doing the work of smugglers spreading misinformation to make a quick buck off of vulnerable migrants." And despite the White House pointing the finger at Republicans, some Democrats are directly contradicting the White House, warning of what they say will be a tidal wave of illegal migrants expected to come to the U.S. on top of the more than 2 million in the past year.
The border is open, and once Title 42 goes away, I've been told that there's more than 50,000 people and more counting that are waiting for this Title 42 to go away so they can come into the United States. I will tell you that next week is going to be very challenging and very chaotic.
Here's Texas's Attorney General with the following warning about Wednesday.
We've never been given information about a plan, and I don't suspect we're going to get one this time. And I'm very suspicious of any so-called plan that they have not shared with the border states. Obviously, it affects us on a daily basis with 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people a day crossing the border.
So there you have it. The White House says the border is closed. Some Democrats say the border's open. Aisha?
Lucas, I know that Senate Democrats were trying to get some answers from DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, wanting to know what the plan was. The administration, I think, kept telling the press all last week they were going to release more information. So are we getting a sense in these final days that we will hear anything about what replaces Title 42 before it ends?
Well, Aisha, with President Biden in Wilmington and no plans to go to the border, and Nancy Pelosi saying she's not bringing this up in Congress before the end of the session, the administration does not want to deal with the border crisis, so it appears. So it looks like they might not hear much before Title 42 is not extended. But who knows? Things can change very quickly in this town, as you know, Aisha.
Absolutely, and we'll keep watching what happens on Pennsylvania Avenue and down at the border. Thank you, Lucas. Lucas Tomlinson at the White House. Griff?
Well, the FBI is responding to the latest dump of Twitter files after Substack writer Matt Taibbi revealed the federal enforcement agency's constant and pervasive ties with the tech giant. Alexandria Hoff joins me now live on the set with details. Hey, Alex, you've done a great job covering all of this. This is now the 6th drop?
Yeah, and it might be the last, Griff. Elon Musk actually implied that this could perhaps be the conclusion, at least for now. But, you know, at one point in this 6th installment, Taibbi described the relationship between the FBI and Twitter as giving off a one big happy family vibe. Early in the thread released last night, he summed it up like this, quote, Twitter's contact with the FBI was consistent and pervasive as if it were a subsidiary. And it went both ways. Taibbi goes on to describe how in the wake of the 2016 election, the FBI had created a social media task force. It was known as the FTIF. And in time, it had swelled to 80 agents who regularly corresponded with Twitter executives. He writes, between January 2020 and November 2022, there were over 150 emails between the FBI and former Twitter Trust and Safety Chief Yoel Roth. Taibbi also provides examples of lists passed over to Twitter from the FBI of accounts that should be monitored. Twitter replied with a list of actions taken against most of those accounts. Interestingly, Taibbi notes that actor Billy Baldwin, he was on the original list and was spared there. So the FBI, they did respond to this latest thread, sharing this, quote, the FBI regularly engages with private sector entities to provide information specific to identified foreign malign influence actors, subversive, undeclared covert or criminal activities. Private sector entities independently make decisions about what, if any, action they take on their platforms and for their customers after the FBI has notified them. So the FBI is saying that Twitter is under no obligation to take action on the accounts that the agency had flagged. And Taibbi also revealed just how closely the government agencies have monitored the accounts of everyday Americans. Griff, he said that many of the accounts that were flagged belonged to people who really didn't have many followers, many of them satire, just making jokes. So it's interesting when you can see those come out in the documents, these little jokes made, but for some reason the FBI didn't like them and Twitter wiped them.
So basically, Taibbi says that Twitter is a subsidiary of the FBI. The FBI says, hey, even if we tell them what to do, after we tell them what they do is on them, not us.
Yes, they were saying they didn't have to take these actions, but I mean, this was constant correspondence, relationships that became casual, very friendly at times. So Twitter really wouldn't have had much reason to say, no, we're not going to follow your lead here.
Wow. Alexandria Hoff, great coverage as always. Alex, thank you. Aisha?
Okay, so for more on this, we're joined now by Democratic Congressman from Massachusetts and member of the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, Jake Auchincloss. He also serves on the Financial Services Committee, a very, very important one. Congressman, so good to have you here. So let's start with Twitter and these Twitter files. We know that Republicans, House Republicans at least, are going to come in the next session here and hold a bunch of investigations and look into content suppression. And they're going to say, look, we told you so, right? We were talking about suppression all along, and it was happening. So where are Democrats like yourself going to stand when it comes to this?
Good to be with you. Big tech shouldn't have their fingers on the scales of American political discourse, nor should law enforcement agencies. And if we bring sunlight into previously confidential conversations that helps advance that shared value, that's a good thing. If we're going to spend 2 years with tawdry and irrelevant investigations into people's laptops, then Republicans are going to have to explain to the American people how that helps lower costs.
Okay. Big tech, obviously going to be big in the next session. Congressman, I have to ask you about FTX and the money that you received from FTX owner-founder Sam Bankman-Fried. And you've kept that money and haven't returned it. Can you tell us why?
Well, I'm not going to return money to a criminal, sitting in jail right now. I'm holding that money to make creditors of FTX whole, and I'm awaiting guidance from the Department of Justice about how best to do that.
Okay, so you're not going to donate it like some of your other colleagues, like Representative Ro Khanna has already given it back. Others have decided just to donate it. You won't do that?
I'm listening to guidance from Department of Justice about how to best use those funds to make creditors whole. I think that's the appropriate thing to do. Those who were scammed by FTX deserve their money back, and I'm certainly eager to do that, and will do that at the earliest legal opportunity.
Let me ask you this. What do you think about the timing of this arrest? A lot of folks raised some eyebrows because it came right before a very important hearing that you would have been a part of as the vice chair. Disappointed by that?
Yes, I think the American people deserve to hear Sam Bankman-Fried testify under oath about his malicious and illegal actions, and he needs to be brought to justice for what he did. And it just is another exclamation point that we need strong, clear regulations, that crypto industry needs to come into compliance, and that we need crypto policy that protects consumers, that ensures market integrity, and that advances the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency.
And then just last quick question on this, and I promise we'll move on, but how do you and other lawmakers on the Hill prevent this from happening again? I mean, people are watching us and thinking, how was this allowed to happen? And then also learning that, you know, politicians benefited from taking donations from this man who's now alleged of serious crimes. How do you look Americans in the face and say, look, we are going to hold people like this accountable, and we're going to do the job that we were sent to Washington to do? How do you make sure that you still have that trust?
Well, because I've been saying the same thing about crypto for 2+ years now, which is that people in Washington, D.C. shouldn't be crypto bulls or crypto bears. They should be referees, and that we should be passing legislation that prevents fraud and abuse, that ensures that markets work efficiently and effectively, and that makes sure that the U.S. dollar remains the world's reserve currency. If the SEC or the CFTC need more funds to enforce noncompliance, we should give them more funds to do that. If they need better or tighter laws or clearer definitions of digital assets, we should do that as well. The clear and present next step, in my opinion, is stablecoin legislation, which I've been working to advance, because stablecoins are being used the world over, and we need to ensure that they are audited and disclosed properly so that consumers have trust in what they are transacting with.
Do you think that lawmakers like yourself should continue to accept crypto as donations for campaigns?
I've taken contributions from thousands of supporters, some people who hate crypto, some people who love crypto, some people who have never heard of crypto. It's never affected my crypto position one iota, because I've been saying the same thing for years now about this industry, which is that it needs to be compliant, it needs to protect consumers, it needs to ensure market integrity, and it needs to advance the U.S. dollar. We have got legislation that can do that, and we need to be working on it.
Okay, and finally, I got to get your reaction to Title 42. It's coming to an end very, very quickly here. Look, the White House says they've got this under control. Do you believe them?
We've got 23,000 Border Patrol agents who are preparing for this. HHS is putting together a plan, but nobody thinks our immigration system is working right now. It is broken. Fixing it's the hardest problem in politics. And it's going to require three things. It's going to require that we have a secure border that cracks down on human and drug trafficking. It's going to require that we work with countries of origin to stem poverty and crime that's causing emigres to flee. And it's going to require documentation and dignity for those living in the United States now. Title 42 doesn't do any of those three things. What does those three things is Republicans and Democrats coming together in the House and the Senate and making very hard compromises. I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to take a tough vote to fix our immigration system. Haven't heard the GOP, certainly not under Kevin McCarthy, be willing to do that.
Well, I think they just don't want to throw money at a problem if they feel like the DHS secretary isn't even willing to say that the border is not open. I think there's a little bit of suspicion on that side as to where that money will eventually wind up. But I hear you, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Congressman Auchincloss, for joining us, for your time and your willingness to share your thoughts. We appreciate it. And happy holidays.
Good to be on.
Griff?
Aisha, we'll hear from the other side of the aisle next. Plus, students at one of the most expensive private schools in New York occupying a campus building and demanding that teachers give all students an A grade for the fall semester. The details next.
You got the rings? Hello. You guys don't look half bad. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, man.
Luxury that lets you feel infinitely you.
I brought in Ensure Max Protein with 30 grams of protein. Those who tried me felt more energy in just 2 weeks. Here, I'll take that.
Ensure Max Protein with 30 grams of protein, 1 gram of sugar, and nutrients for immune health.
For people who love their vehicles, there's only one name on their holiday list: WeatherTech. Laser-measured floor liners that fit perfectly in the front and rear, seat protector to guard against spills and messes, cargo liner, bump step, and no-drill mud flaps to protect the exterior, and cup foam keeps phones secure and handy. Shop for everyone on your list with American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
Hi, I'm William Devane. And you know, these days we take a lot for granted. Used to be just having wood for the fire and a little food for your table was all you needed to feel secure. Not anymore. Now rising debt is chopping away at the value of our dollar, like this, and that troubles me, which is why I buy gold as often as I can. I buy my gold from Roslyn Capital because I trust them. Roslyn has the fastest shipping and the best customer service around. With all the money printed by shaky governments, protecting my purchasing power against the rising threat of inflation is more critical now than ever. Protect what you've worked hard for. Buy gold from Roslyn Capital.
Call Roslyn Capital now to get your free gold kit, free silver kit, and free IRA transfer kit. For a limited time, Roslyn is offering a discount of up to $15,000 free to qualifying new customers. Call 800-630-8900. That's 800-630-8900.
Tracking down COVID's origin. Mike Turner on his investigation. Plus, Dan Patrick